Welcome to another Authors at Google Talk, coming to you from the Google Irvine office. Today we are welcoming Liz Lynch. Liz Lynch shows busy professionals and entrepreneurs, both introverts and extroverts alike, how to get 24/7 networking results without the 24/7 effort. As a top networking strategist and author of Smart Networking, Attract a Following in Person and Online, Liz has appeared in the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and USA Today, as well as on ABC News, Fox Business News, CNBC.com, and BusinessWeek.com. Liz holds an engineering degree from UC Berkeley and an MBA from Stanford University. For more smart networking tips and resources, and to test your own networking attraction factor, visit www.networkingexcellence.com. Please welcome Liz Lynch.
Thank you, Lori. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Happy St. Patty's Day. I packed for a 10-day trip, and the one thing I forgot to bring is something green. So you're getting my standard New York black, so I hope you don't mind. Before I get started, I always like to calibrate the room by taking a quick poll. By show of hands, how many of you actually like to network? Raise your hands. Not too many. I'm going to get to you in a second. How many of you don't like it? Raise your hands. Wow, good. But you're here, which is fantastic. And then you're on the fence. You're on the fence? Okay, good. Well, I'm glad you're all here. I'm going to make a bold statement that you don't need to like networking to be good at it. Okay, so take that worry off your plate for now. I wrote Smart Networking to help people get results, okay, and not to convince you to love it. It helps, absolutely, but it's not a requirement. But here's the reality. Once you start seeing results, and I tried to lay out a very easy process to follow for people, once you start seeing results, you'll actually can't help but begin to like networking just a little bit, no matter what level of resistance you might be feeling with it now. All right, bold statement number 2. You already, all of you, have a natural ability to connect. You do. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. And I don't mean be here on this planet, but be here at Google, because in order to get here, you had to go probably through several rounds of interviews, right? And so that meant you needed to connect with people, with your interviewers, one-on-one, get them to know, like, and trust you in a relatively short amount of time. And that's all that networking is. At the end of the day, it's about connecting with people one-on-one, being personable, and helping them see the potential in wanting to get to know you better and work with you better, okay? The question, though, is that potential that you already have inside of you trained, or is it just untapped potential, okay? Bold statement number 3, right? If you hone your natural ability to connect with people, even just a little bit, there's almost nothing that you won't be able to accomplish in your career. And whether that's to make sales more quickly, get promoted more quickly, love your coworkers more, although I feel a lot of love in this room already, so, or just make more money for yourself and the company. Okay? And you need relationships to make that happen, right? You can't do that alone. So really, what then gets in the way of making that happen, right? Of us building the relationships that can advance our careers, help us in business and in life, and have us have more fun? Well, here are some of the challenges that I see time and time again, and things that my clients bring to me. And maybe you feel a few of these things. The first challenge is people come to me and they say, well, networking, gosh, I'm not an extrovert. It's not natural for me. It feels awkward. Does anyone feel that? You people? Yes. In all honesty, I felt the same way. Okay? And we've only known each other now for about 5 minutes, but I'm gonna confess something to you. The first networking event I ever attended, I lasted 5 minutes. And that included the 4 minutes it took me to check my coat. Okay? Really, I did spend a good 60 seconds standing at the edge of the room at the 21 Club in New York, where this event was being held, scanning the sea of gray suits, desperately looking for a familiar face that I could latch onto. and feeling my heart sink as I came to the realization that that was not going to happen. Like, I knew no one at this event. And worse, I had no idea how to act at these things. Everyone already looked like they knew each other. Have you ever walked into a room and everyone's already talking and you're like, oh my gosh, what am I doing here? I felt completely overwhelmed. I had no idea how to introduce myself to people, what to say, how to act. I felt completely overwhelmed. I literally started to hyperventilate. I had a drink in my hand. I put it down. I should have taken it with me, but I put it down. And I spun around, ran down the stairs, grabbed my coat, pushed open the door, and waved frantically for the nearest taxi. That was not that long ago. Really just like 2 weeks ago. I'm kidding. I've come a long way, right? It was really just 8 years ago when I left corporate America to start my own consulting business. And before then, I never networked. I didn't know how to do it. It didn't come naturally to me at all. But the one thing I did know is that if I couldn't network and I couldn't get clients, then I was going to be able to eat. And I don't know about any of you, but eating is very important to me. Okay? So while networking may have felt awkward, not eating was even more awkward. So I really wanted to learn how to network from the ground up and do it the smart way, which I'll talk about what that is. All right, the second challenge that people come to me with is they say, you know, I hate asking people for help. It makes me seem needy and desperate. Do any of you feel that as well? Yeah. Well, here's the reality, is the only way you can come across needy and desperate is if you are needy and desperate. And if you never talk to anybody until you really need something, that's when you really begin to feel that. But if you're consistently building your network before you need it, and you know, there are very easy strategies in the book to incorporate into your life in very, very small ways. You don't need to turn into the life of the party overnight. Then you will have your network there. You will have it built before you need it, and then you won't ever look needy and desperate because they'll be standing by, ready to help you. Okay? And we're going to talk about how to do that. The third challenge that people come to me with is, you know, they say, networking's just for looking for a new job, and I have a job. I have a great job. You know, I work at Google. Why would I ever want to leave? And that's true. Why would you ever want to leave? But building relationships outside your company is obviously very important from a sales standpoint. But building closer relationships inside your company, and not just with the people who work here, but also the people who work in other offices, is critical to doing your job better. I mean, if you have strong relationships with people, information flows faster, you get things done more quickly, you get support for your ideas and your projects, and you get the critical information that you need in a timely fashion to make decisions and do your job as effectively as possible. And when you have strong relationships, you really want to share whatever critical information you have that can save someone's time or save someone's butt. Right? But when you don't have a relationship with, with someone, then that information doesn't flow as freely. The communication is just not there. So networking externally, obviously very important for sales. Good idea to do, even if you're not in sales, just to start meeting other people in your community and in your industry. But more importantly now for most people is just to build stronger relationships inside the company. Okay, and the fourth challenge that people come to me with is that it takes too much time. And a lot of people who come to me for help say, look, I'm already spending 5, 10, 15 hours a week, a month. A week would be terrible. A month. Going to networking events and doing one-on-one follow-ups. And now you tell me I also have to do all this online stuff, with LinkedIn and Twitter and Facebook. And where's that time going to come from, right? And, and they say, like, how much more time do I need to give to the cause of networking? And how much more of my personal life do I have to give up? And I agree with them. I don't like the strategy of having to network all the time and be on all the time, right? We have other things in our life that we're interested in. And so we're going to talk more about social media and that kind of stuff a little bit later, but one thing I do want to say is that it can be a real big time saver or a real big time sink, depending on what you do and how disciplined you are. Okay, we'll talk about some strategies for managing your time better, so that challenge also goes away. Okay, so it seems then that networking is, you're kind of damned if you do and damned if you don't. If you don't do it, then you miss out on opportunities, you don't make as much money as you can, you don't get promoted as quickly, you don't have as much fun with people. But if you do it, then gosh, you have to sign away chunks of your life and chunks of your time, and who wants to do that? And where's that time going to come from? So that's where smart networking comes in. Okay. In a nutshell, smart networking is about maximizing results and minimizing effort. I mean, other experts will talk about how networking has to be part of your lifestyle, has to be part of everything that you do. And if that works for you, great, go for that. But there's still going to be a lot in smart networking that will help even those people. But personally, I was never interested in making networking part of my lifestyle. I was more interested in getting results. Okay, and I think that's what you guys are interested in too. And really, I'm still not that interested in spending all my time out there. You know, I've gotten good at networking specifically so I could do it less, not do it more. Okay, and so my approach to networking, what smart networking is about it's about goals-based networking instead of numbers-based. Okay, so I'm never going to ask you to measure how many networking groups you belong to, how many conferences you've been to, how much time you spend. And if I ever did ask you to do that, I would want to see those numbers go down, not up. Okay, and it also doesn't matter how many contacts you have. You know, having someone's contact information in your database or their business card is useless if they don't pick up the phone when you call them or they blow off your emails. Okay, you might as well just throw that card away. So there's a difference between having contact information and having a connection, right? It's kind of like when you go to a bar and someone gives you their phone number, and assuming it's the right one, just because you have that person's contact information doesn't mean that you're dating. Okay, you need to work up to that. And that's kind of, you know, this whole notion of collecting business cards and then stuffing them into your drawer doesn't really do that much. Okay, so if you're going to do that, then don't collect the business card. Save time and don't collect the business card at all. All right. So the focus really is on, for me, is quality of relationships instead of quantity. Okay, and that's how you begin to save time by sort of thinking about who do I need to build relationships with? What is the best way to meet those people? And sometimes it's in person, sometimes it's online, and that's why I cover both in the book. Okay, so the question then is, instead of measuring things, we have to ask ourselves, you know, do you know how to build solid, lasting, supportive relationships so that you get the help you need when you need it? And that's the true measure of success with networking. Okay, so if the time you need to get support for a new project or a new goal you have in your life, do you have the people in your network that you can call on? Or the people who are in your network, can they get you to the right people? Okay, and are they willing to help you? That's really the true measure. So smart networking then is about doing the right things so you get to that place and doing them at the right time to get the result you want without all the running around. Okay? Now, being able to do the right things at the right times means that you need to have a variety of tools at your disposal, right? So more and more, that means being adept at both in-person networking and online. And face-to-face networking is still very important. I mean, every social media conference is full of people who love to connect online, who are there with their BlackBerries twittering 24 hours a day, but they still show up because they want to meet other people. They want that face-to-face connection, that face-to-face interaction. And I'm sure you've heard this before. I think the reason we're drawn to being in person, meeting people in person, is that when we communicate, our message comes across three ways. And you may have heard this before, but they come across in our words, our body language, and our tone. Okay? But only 7% comes through in our words. Okay? 38% is in our tone, right? Are we stern? Are we happy? Are we sarcastic? And the rest, the vast majority, 55%, comes through in our body language. So when you meet somebody, you see them in person, you get the whole message. When you interact with them online, you're really getting a small part, usually just the words. And maybe you can infer some of the tone by the punctuation and the emoticons and things like that. But that's really all you get. Yet there are times when connecting online is a better choice, right? So look, just because you use email doesn't mean you've given up on snail mail. You know, there are some things that you would use that for. If you made a homemade batch of brownies and you wanted to send them to a friend, you'd have to use snail mail. I mean, it'd be great if you could email those. And I'm sure if anyone could figure out how to do that, Google can. So I'm going to be looking for that. But there are times when connecting online is better. If you were going to meet 3 friends for dinner tonight, you wouldn't send a letter. You would, and you probably wouldn't make 3 phone calls. You'd probably send a quick email to confirm everything. So it's being able to have the right tool for the job and knowing how to use both that can help you pick the right one to choose at the right time. Okay, so Smart Networking is really the only book that combines both of those things. I thought it was important that people know at least the options for connecting in person and online and choose the right combination of things that works best for them. Okay, so let's talk about then, let's take the first part of that, how to network effectively in person. Okay, so basically people always ask me, well, what does it take to be good at networking in person? Well, it's probably not what you think. First of all, is you don't need to be the life of the party. Okay, you don't have to try to regale people with interesting stories about your days in the Merchant Marines and things like that. You don't need to do any of that stuff. It's much better, instead of trying to be interesting, is to be interested. Okay, because it's, frankly, we're never as interesting as we think we are. Okay, but people like to be acknowledged. They like to be asked about themselves. They like that you show an interest in getting to know who they are. And you do that by asking questions. Okay, what do you do? How long have you been doing that? What do you like best about it? Just have a conversation. Okay, and conversations build connections. And the best way to have a conversation, the easiest way, is to just ask questions. Okay, so you need to be interested in other people. You also need to be approachable, right? Because there's a lot of fear of rejection in networking. You know, people, I mean, everyone. It's not just you in the room who is afraid to go up to people and introduce themselves. You know, other people are too. So, you know, having an open body language, sort of being, you know, smiling and being open to having people approach you is also key. You always want to be helpful if something comes up in a conversation that you can help with. See, networking is very much a two-way street. People are going to be more willing to help you now or in the future if you show willingness to help them, right? So as things come up in the conversation that you may be able to help with, then offer that up. So you might learn while you're talking to somebody that they just moved into town and they're looking for a new dentist. And if you happen to have a great one, then offer to send them your dentist contact information. Okay, so as much as you can be helpful without, you know, spending 6 hours of your time, there are sort of easy ways to sort of build stronger connections with people just by being helpful and starting the whole connection process going. What you're also going to need out there is a form of an elevator pitch, and I actually devote a whole chapter in the book about that. Okay, so that goes into a lot more detail with examples, but there's also a lot more stuff online too if you need help. But I want you to walk away with something today that you can use. So I want to give you a simple 3-point elevator pitch that will pretty much work universally for you wherever you go. So if you're sitting next to someone at your cousin's wedding and they ask what you do, that'll be, you know, this will work. If you are at a networking mixer, that will work too. Okay, and even if you're just around here, you know, there is a version of an elevator pitch, and it sounds cheesy to call it an elevator pitch if you're using it internally, because you're not really pitching yourself. You're really just sharing information. So think about it as sharing information, even if you're doing it outside or internally. And really sort of the 3 things are, you know, what's your name? And you can also include company name, and I would in your case, because people, when you talk to them, are always looking for something familiar. So if you say, you know, I'm Bob Smith with Google, then that helps them sort of key into the rest of your message because they've already anchored onto something that they've heard of. Okay. And just a couple of tips about your name. You know, obviously, if you have an unusual name or a long name, to be able to say it clearly and slowly. When you're wearing name tags, oftentimes at events, people will put their name, if you wear one of those kind of sticky tags, people will put it over their left side, over their heart, which is very lovely. But it's often more effective to put it over your right side, so when you're extending your hand to shake someone's hand, your name tag is right there. Okay, a lot of people are visual, so they need to see both. And sometimes if you go to conferences, you might get those name tags on a long piece of string, right? It's a huge piece of string. And your name tag ends up down here somewhere. And no one likes to look down there. So what I always do is I put the name tag on, I tie a string in the middle of it, so it ends up here, which is kind of weird too, but it ends up here. And at least then, you know, people can, as they're talking to you, glance down to your name and reinforce your name. And if they can do that, if they can hear it and see it, then it'll be easy to remember. Okay, so keep in mind that your name tag is not for you. You know what your name is. Okay, so it's really for the other people who are talking to you to be able to remember who you are. Okay, so the first piece is, is what's your name, and also you can include your company name too. The second piece is what do you do? Okay, so oftentimes people go into this long soliloquy, like their whole life story of what they do, but just keep it simple. Other people go into this, they spend 5 months coming up with a perfect haiku, right, that describes in 17 syllables and appeals to the whole 5 senses. Trying to create this image, but then they're spending so much time on that they never get out there. Okay, so keep it simple. Just describe what you do in one sentence, and if you have stories and examples, it's actually good to have those in case people say, so what does that mean, or can you explain that a little bit better? You have something in your back pocket that kind of describes it in more detail, but don't offer that and go into a 10-minute speech unless that's part of the conversation. And the third thing is, what are you looking for? Okay, well, obviously, if you were at a wedding, that would be something different. But if you were at a networking event and you were talking to someone, explaining, kind of why you're there, what your goal was for being there, if there's certain piece of information that you wanted to learn, or if there's a certain person or group of people that you wanted to meet, that's the place to say it. It's like, hi, I'm Liz Lynch, and I'm here to really learn about how online marketing works through email. And I'd love to meet people who are successful at doing that, because I want to see, from their experience, what the best way is to do that. Okay, and so just by stating your objective when you talk to people, and it doesn't always come out like that, it's much more conversational, it's much more back and forth. You never know if that person in front of you actually can help you with that, or if they know someone who can help you, with that. And so you're trying to take advantage of, if you're going to be out there networking anyway, you've set the time aside and you're there, you've gotten dressed, and you said to your kids or your spouse, look, I'm not going to be home for dinner because I'm doing this thing. If you're going to be doing this thing, if you're going to be at a networking event, then you want to try to maximize the opportunity as much as possible. And adding these little tiny things can really make a big difference. Okay, so that's networking externally. Now let's talk about networking internally. Okay, and building stronger relationships with your coworkers. So it's really all about spending time together, but what happens is that we tend to spend time with the same people all the time, and we never get a chance to really, maybe we'll see people in the hallway or pass them on the way to the kitchen and say hello, but we never get to spend time with people in adjacent departments, really get to know them, and what they do, and talk about how you can each support each other in doing your jobs better. Okay, and it doesn't, again, take long at all. I mean, if you're used to sitting at your desk, then take one lunch a week and sit down with someone else in a different department and really get to know that person. And then, by the end of the year, not counting vacation days and things like that, you'll have 40 to 50 closer relationships with people. All right, all in taking no more time in your day than you would have if you were just going to have lunch on your own anyway. And again, it's all about showing interest in others and acknowledging others, asking them about what they're working on, and really try to get to know, what they're concerned about and what their goals are, and talk about how you can help each other. Okay, how you can contribute, how you can be more efficient in giving them information, how they can be more efficient in giving you information, whatever it is. I mean, start that dialogue. And that one lunch can make an enormous difference in opening the lines of communication, right, for future interactions. And that's all it is. You're just kind of building on interactions. You're not going for one big bang. It's like you're not having one lunch and suddenly you've met your best friend. Okay, it's just kind of starting a dialogue, opening the door so that you guys can communicate more frequently and interact more in the future. All right, so it doesn't take much, really, to be good at networking in person. Okay, it's really just about being open, being curious, asking questions, and be willing to spend time with that person. Okay, and that's why the whole thing about I got to meet everybody in the room, I got to work the room, that's why it feels so fake, because when you're talking to people, they know, they can sense that you're on a time schedule. They can sense that you're already looking at the next person that you want to meet. And you always want to be present in the moment with that one person. Okay. It's not in this book, but in my in some things I did, I'd be happy to share it with you guys. Is people always ask me, how do I exit conversations? Actually, they ask me how they start conversations, and I said, well, don't you really want to know how to exit them? And there's really, really easy tips. The one thing I like to say is, before I go, can I have your card? Okay, so it's an easy way to get someone's contact information, and it kind of sets up that you're kind of ready to end the conversation. All right, and it comes out very, very easy and very simply, and so that's kind of the best way to do it. That's the way I feel, because I can kill two birds with one stone. But feel free, you can come up with other excuses. I have a conference call, I gotta go to the bathroom, I need to fill my drink. You can use whatever you want, but that's the one I feel that has worked best for me all this time. All right, so let's talk about a little bit about online networking. How many of you guys are on LinkedIn? People, everybody, just about. Facebook, okay, Twitter. Great, so good. So we got everybody sort of in at least one of those. How many of you feel like you're using the sites that you're on to the maximum advantage? Anybody sort of feel that? Okay, yeah, it's hard to sort of maximize them because there's so many things to do. So for those of you, who don't do it that much, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter are really sort of sites that help you find, connect, interact with, and build relationships virtually with people that you never meet. And actually, you may end up meeting them. I just had lunch. I was in Manhattan Beach this weekend. Actually had lunch with a Twitter friend. That was kind of weird. I felt like I knew everything about her already. But so we didn't have to start from scratch, with our whole life stories. We can sort of start from, okay, we know each other. Let's talk about now how we can collaborate and move forward from here. So it's really great when you actually get to meet some of your online friends in person. There's lots of other online networking sites as well, but I tend to focus on these because, as I talk about in the book, it's really about critical mass. You can be on some of these smaller sites, and if for your particular industry or function, there are other sites that most of your colleagues use, then that's probably what you want to focus on as well. But in terms of general networking, those 3 sites are probably going to be more than enough for you. Okay. All right, but why network online at all? Well, first of all, there's the convenience, right? If you go to a networking group, you have to be there at a certain time on a certain day, whereas when you network online, you can network anytime you want. If you want to do it at 3 in the morning, you want to do it on a Saturday night, you could do that. Okay, and it's really up to you. And the best thing is that you can, if people annoy you, you can unlink to them. Okay, so how easy is that to do at a live event? It's very hard to get rid of people. So that's a big benefit. The other thing is the time savings. You don't have to get dressed and go anywhere. But the other thing is that you can communicate with lots of people in your network at one time, as opposed to one-on-one, right? So you can keep people updated on new jobs that you've been promoted to, on a much easier scale than you would if you had to tell them one-on-one. The third reason is that you have access to a large database. With LinkedIn now, 35 million professionals are on the site. I mean, there's still a lot of people who aren't on it, but there are a lot of people who are. And so, of course, if you need to find anyone, you can pretty much get to them there. Although, I did have an instance, it was 2 weeks ago or so, a Facebook friend of mine emailed me and he said, Liz, I have a friend who's putting a real estate deal together, and I want to know, do you have any bankers in New York that you can recommend? And I said, well, the only banker I know is my old banker at HSBC, but he has moved to Bank of America, and I couldn't find his contact information. So I thought, well, I'll go look on LinkedIn. He's got to be there. And he wasn't. So I thought, okay, well, no biggie. I'll ask my accountant, because my accountant introduced us, so he must have his contact information. So I emailed my accountant and I said, do you have Darren's contact info? And if not, is there another banker that you could recommend? And he actually did recommend another banker. So Sammy at Wachovia has this deal now instead of Darren at Bank of America, only because I couldn't find his contact information and couldn't find him on LinkedIn. So if you do nothing else on LinkedIn at all, if you never do anything at all, just have your profile up there. So if people think of you for any opportunity, they can find you. Okay, so the access to the large database is key. The other way, the other benefit of being on these sites is it's keeping in touch with your network. There's a whole time commitment in meeting new people, but you need to keep strengthening the relationships that you already have and keeping in touch with people, and that could take a long time, right? So you're doing both simultaneously. Being connected to the people that you know in person online as well, then that helps you stay on top of what they're doing. It helps them stay on top of what you're doing. If you ever change jobs or if they change jobs, it's like automatically updated. And so you can always find anybody, and anybody can always find you. Okay. And then the fifth thing, which I love, is the portability. So I just left New York. I lived in New York for almost 20 years. And my husband and I moved to Florida recently. And I didn't think twice. I'm starting over in a new city, but because I have so many of my network online, I just took my network with me, right? So it wasn't any big deal at all. And I know, with Google being such a big company and having so many offices and so many opportunities, there's a chance that you might pick up and relocate somewhere. And having your network at your fingertips all the time is just going to make that transition so much easier. All right, so a bunch of you said that you are on LinkedIn already, so you have a profile up, right? Is it all filled out with like your jobs and education? No? Okay.
If you put Google on there, you get lots of requests.
Oh, I see. Yes, I understand. I can see why that would be an issue. But if you weren't so popular, what I would recommend people do is fill out their profile. I had a client who joined LinkedIn like a year ago, but she never put anything there. I think she put up her college and the years and maybe a couple of employers, but no description at all and no summary, which kind of showcases what your expertise is. And you guys know better than anybody the importance of keywords, right, in your summary description and also in your job descriptions. So I said, you got to fill this out, right? And she's looking for a job anyway. So she finally filled out all the information. She'd worked at MTV, and she also speaks Italian. Well, literally like the next day, after she completed her profile, she got a phone call from a recruiter at Prada. And she was like, can you believe this? I said, I told you need to fill this stuff out. So if you're going to play on these sites, that's the minimum that you should do, is just have your profile up, have whatever information you're comfortable sharing about your job there, and just make it sort of easy for people to find you. And then you would just want to start connecting with people, and adding connections is really easy. You can pretty much find anybody that you want to, and then invite them. And there's always there's always an option to send a personal note. Most people keep the default, which says, because you're a person I trust, I want to add you to my network. But I always just like to take 2 seconds and just change that and make it a little bit more personal. And it doesn't have to be long. It can just be like, hey, it's been 10 years since we worked at Money Magazine together. We'd just love to connect. It's so simple. Or, Dan, I met you at that networking event on Tuesday and would love to connect with you online as well. Okay, again, it doesn't take long, but just to give context so people kind of know who you are. And you really don't need to spend a lot of time. I mean, just really, if you connect with the people that you already know, that will probably give you a pretty good base already. Okay, and then people will start to send you invitations as well. And here's a question that people ask me all the time: which invitations should I accept? Do you guys ever run into that? You get invitations from people. You probably do too, right? Everyone has a different philosophy on that, and I'll share what I do. I used to think of LinkedIn as just really, these are the people that I know. These are the people that I could recommend for anything because I've worked with them before and know these people well. And I used to just ignore all the other invitations that I would get from people I didn't know. But then I thought about it more as I started to get more of these because I've been out there speaking and been interviewed and stuff. And I thought, well, these people have heard of me, and they're sort of opening the door to connecting with them. And I should be open to that. Okay, but the compromise that I made is the default on LinkedIn is that you used to be able to see everyone else's connections if you're part of their network. I closed that off. So just for the privacy of the people who are already connected to me, you can connect to me, but then you won't be able to see who else is in my network. And I think I'm pretty happy with that compromise. So I'm sort of opening myself up to more people, but I'm also saying the people who are in there, I'm going to keep your privacy sacred. Okay, so, but again, people have different philosophies on this. Some people will just accept everybody. I at least take a look at the profile to see if it is real, right? I mean, that kind of helps. So again, it doesn't take much time. Just connect with people that you already know, and then start to build your network slowly. But as long as you can be found on LinkedIn, you're pretty much good. How to use LinkedIn then for networking? I mean, there's a lot of ways to use the site that are very powerful for a business, right? So if you ever need to do research on a vendor or on a potential business partner, potential job candidate, that's the first place I would go. I would also look at their Facebook page too, because you just kind of want to see who they are in their personal lives, okay? And that's one reason to be on Facebook, is so you can get access to these. And sometimes you can't see people's profiles, but the times that you can really help you in your decision making. So that's just some quick tips. And Facebook works the same way. People use it for different things. They might say that, Facebook is just for my real friends, and I don't want to open that up to anybody, and that's totally fine. There's not a wrong way to do that. But you can also kind of keep it open, too, to say, there are people who I work with who are not necessarily like my best friends, but I work with them or they know me. And we just want to have a more holistic relationship than just on the professional side. I feel close enough to them where I'm okay inviting them in to see my vacation pictures and that kind of stuff. And that's totally fine as well. It depends what you're most comfortable with. And if you're concerned about privacy at all, there's a lot of stuff that you can do to adjust the privacy settings, which you know. But what I like about Facebook is it allows you to really share a lot about yourself. I was in Forbes a couple of weeks ago, and I just said, I'm excited to be featured in this article in Forbes. And like 10 people congratulated me. And so it was just a way for them to pop up on my radar screen, to say congratulations, to just be nice, and sort of having those possibilities of being able to interact with people and to acknowledge their successes, or to share a thought, or to answer a question that they're asking. Again, it's those little light touches of contact over time that really start to build strong relationships. And then Twitter is a whole different animal. I know there's a few people on here, but for those of you who want to know just a little bit about it, a friend of mine said it's like passing notes in class. It's sort of like having these public conversations with people that anyone can see, so you have to be okay with sharing that, and everything has to be in 140 characters or less. So what I'd recommend is don't even worry about being on Twitter. If you're on it now, that's great. If you're not on it now, don't worry that you're not on it. It's always going to be there. Well, who knows? But it's going to be there for a while, and when you're ready, there's tons of resources out there. There's a great book written by a friend of mine called The Twitter Revolution. And they'll talk about sort of what are the best ways to use it. And it was written by two people, Warren Whitlock and Deborah Misek, M-I-C-E-K. And they're on Twitter all the time. I was talking to Warren the other day, and I said, Warren, you're on this thing all the time, aren't you? Because literally he sends out maybe a couple hundred tweets a day. Okay? And so that kind of gives you the sense that to be good and effective on the site, you got to be on it all the time. So I'm on it, but I really try to discipline myself to check it, just once a day, because really, if you have the window open, it's so tempting to go and see what people are talking about and jump in, with an answer or a question or like a funny line, and before you know it, your whole day is gone. And we're all about trying to save time. So if you guys are on any of these sites, just the best way to not let them get the better of you is to set aside boundaries. Set aside a timer and say, for 10 minutes, I'm going to invite a few friends, or I'm going to look at someone's video, and really be disciplined about that, because it could, 3 hours can go by, and all of a sudden you haven't done anything at work. So it's just really important to stay disciplined. So why don't I take some questions? We have a few minutes, and I want to just kind of know what's on your mind. If there's something that I hadn't covered, I went through sort of the whole book very quickly. But if there's something specific you want to know about, I would love to hear from you.
Please use the mic.
Oh, yes, and please use the mic.
You mentioned attending networking events several times.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been invited to a networking
Oh.
event. What kind of events are you talking about?
Oh, great question. I always make this assumption, and I'm glad you asked that. So there are many different types of networking events. And oftentimes they're put on by some group or association that wants to get a certain group of people in the room. Or they could be more general, where people just want to meet each other just for fun. So what typically happens is there may be an association. A typical group is called the Chamber of Commerce. I mean, almost every city has one. And what they'll do is, as a service to their members, provide opportunities to come to events where you can hear a speaker, where you can meet other people in the room, and you can network with whoever's there. And sometimes people just come for the speaker and then leave. Sometimes people skip the speaker altogether and just hang out with their friends. So it really sort of depends. So those kinds of events that are put on by like the Chamber of Commerce or industry associations that take place on a local basis. You can also, if you belong to any national associations, they might have an annual conference that you would go to. For example, there's a big conference right now happening in the social media world called South by Southwest in Austin, and lots of people who are just interested in social media are there. So, you know, these big conferences are kind of these small networking events on steroids that if you want to just really get a lot of networking done in one sitting and then never go to another event for the rest of the year, you can go to these big events and really just meet everyone that you need to meet and spend the rest of the year kind of following up and connecting, you know, with them. But there's different events. There are local events, and there are also these kind of national types of conferences that you could attend if you wanted to meet people in certain industries. Great question. Thank you. Yes.
I maybe missed it at the very beginning, but what's your consulting business about?
Oh, thank you for asking. Yes, well, I run two companies. So my consulting business is on profitability and strategy issues for media companies. And so that has nothing to do with this. But what happened is that to get clients for that, I needed to learn how to network. And I didn't know how to do it. So in learning that process and developing a process that worked for me so easily, people started asking me what my strategies were. And I started speaking about networking, even though I never intended to, as a side business. And now I started the Center for Networking Excellence as its kind of its own thing. But I do, on that side, coach people and mentor people who want to improve their networking skills and want to reach higher goals than they can, and they know they need to network to do that. So there's sort of two different companies, but thank you for asking.
Because you mentioned that.
Yeah.
You mentioned that at this first networking meeting, you decided to start your consulting business at the same time. You didn't know anything about networking.
Right. Exactly. No. So yes, that first networking event I attended was to find clients for my strategy consulting business, and that's when I realized, gosh, I have no clue how to network. And just in the process of building up a process that I could understand that was logical, you know, having this engineering background that hopefully you guys can appreciate, that has a process to it, and it's not, and there's it's very logical, and anyone can follow it, right? So having come up with that process for myself began to attract a lot of other people who wanted to learn about it too. So then that whole thing was born. But yes, you're right. I didn't know how to network the first time.
On your estimate, how much time do you spend right now on networking?
Thank you. Great question. You guys are great questions. You know, I put on my Facebook status that I'm so excited to be talking about smart networking at Google with some really smart folks. So thank you for that. I've really adapted the way I network. When I started, I did a lot of in-person networking. So I joined a couple of groups that met weekly. Oh, God. And you know, at 7 o'clock in the morning, I don't know what I was thinking. That didn't last long. And then I joined a couple of groups where I was on the board so I could kind of get some higher visibility and things like that. But I've really progressed most of my networking to online. So whereas I might have spent maybe 3 hours a week or something at some kind of networking group and nothing online, I've really done more online now. And if I did have LinkedIn and Facebook open all the time, I could probably get everything I need to get done in about 20 minutes a week. But the fact that I just want to go and update my status and let people kind of know what I'm doing, I look at that as stealth promotion. You've heard of self-promotion, but sort of stealth promotion in terms of being able to share a success or an accomplishment or, you know, or something out there that lets people know what you're doing. So I update my status every day. So I probably say that on average I might spend 20 minutes a day on it. And I don't go to events as much anymore. The two events I do go to is obviously when I'm speaking at them. And I love those because then I know everyone in the room is interested in what I have to say. So that helps a lot. If I do go to any events, I go to big ones. So I tend to go to events where there's 1,000 people there instead of like the 20 people, because I just want to get all my networking done. I'm like in the mode. Like I'm dressed. I don't want to have to get dressed 3 times. I want to just get dressed once and just get all my networking done. So I tend to go to the bigger conferences then if I don't. And it's around a certain interest, or if there's a specific person. Like I've gone to conferences where there was one person I wanted to meet. Okay, and I didn't even care what the conference was about, but I knew that person was going to be there. And sometimes having that face-to-face connection with somebody is a lot easier, because they're more open at a conference. It's a lot easier than trying to cold call them in their office. So you'll see in Chapter 13 of Smart Networking how to lay out your own smart networking plan. And it's really less about your activities and more about what's your goal, who are the people you need to have in your network to reach those goals, and then what's the best way to meet them. Because maybe you can avoid events altogether if everyone you need to meet, you can reach online. Okay, so it's really just starting with your goal, understanding who can help you with that goal, and then picking the right activity to meet those specific people. Okay, and that's really how you cut down your time. That's really how you become a lot more effective in your networking. Great. Yes.
Hi, so I think you mentioned an anecdote about looking for a banker to help with a real estate deal. Obviously, this is the kind of business where personal interaction is a lot more important, making deals and that kind of thing. I was just thinking, seeing as you're in a room with a lot of engineers, where, in a sense, the thing that drives engineering is often more knowledge rather than just personal relationships, and where in order to build up personal relationships, in order to get other engineers to respect you, you really do have to demonstrate that you have the knowledge. Engineers respect people who know things and tend to be a bit dismissive of people who do not know things or do not understand their technical specialities. I was wondering if you had any thoughts on that. Like you mentioned sort of dressing up to go to something, and the idea of an engineer ever dressing up to
you
go
guys
anywhere
look great, by the way,
just-
so you're like, I just go like this, I don't know.
Yeah, okay, some of us washed our t-shirts, but apart from that.
That's a great question. Thank you for asking that as well. What's so great about online networking is that you can demonstrate your knowledge. So if you're on Twitter or you're on LinkedIn and someone in your field asks a question that only like 5 people in the world can help them with, and you're able to jump in with a link to a white paper or another form of information, that showcases your expertise more than anything. And that's a really quick way to get respect, is to answer people's questions that they have about your industry. So online networking is perfect for that. And so it could be that as engineers, you don't need to do as much face-to-face, where it is more efficient and everyone that you interact with is online anyway. So if they're asking questions on Twitter, if they're asking questions on LinkedIn, because there is a part of LinkedIn called LinkedIn Answers where people can ask questions about anything. They can say, for example, they might say, has anyone heard of this company and ever worked with them? And people will jump in to say, yeah, they were great, or no, they ripped me off, or whatever. They also ask questions about things that they really are trying to find for their jobs. And then people, again, will chime in with additional resources. Twitter is faster with that because it's so instantaneous. It's like instant messaging. So you may think about that as a possible strategy, although if a lot of stuff what you're working on is confidential, it might be hard to do that. But just to answer your question, online networking can really help showcase what your expertise is and help you get that credibility that you're looking for. So thank you.
I believe just recently nearly everyone experienced why they need networking at Google when they were looking for new projects.
All right. Anything else?
Do you separate your social networking from your professional networking?
Oh yeah, great. I actually don't. On my Facebook page, I have people I went to high school with, people I grew up with, and people that I'm doing business with, all on the same page. And The reason I did that was I wanted, and the way I talk about it in the book is an option for that, is I think of LinkedIn as my professional persona. It's sort of like, because there's no way to really have that much fun on LinkedIn. You know, let's face it, it's really, you know, who you are, what you do as a profession, and there's no way to really share other stuff. What I like about Facebook is the ability to share. For example, I have a whole bunch of videos up there. I did a lot of traveling last year, and I decided, you know, I'm going to all these great places, and I'd love to tie it into networking somehow. So I created this series called Passport to Networking, which I'm standing on the Great Wall of China and talk about the history of it, you know, like in a minute and a half, but also tie it into a tip about networking. And so what I love about Facebook is that you can post multimedia things, right? If you have a product demonstration or, you know, or something. So I do use that to pull people in who might be interested in learning more about networking. But again, the compromise I made is I don't have pictures up there of myself on vacation. And I don't have any kids, but if I did, I'm not sure I would put them up there because my profile is really, really open. And I share links to the things that I've done and stuff like that. So, and to my blog and all of that stuff. So I really, if my friends are interested in that, that's great. If they're not, what I love about it too is that when you post something, it doesn't interrupt people. So it's not like it sends everyone an email, which is great. It's only if people happen to be logged into their page and see what I posted, they're already on that, you know, on Facebook anyway. So I don't feel like, as long as I'm posting it to my own page, that I'm kind of interrupting their day. Now, I know there are people who send messages and send emails and things like that, and that I feel is a little bit intrusive. But so I keep my social and my professional network together on Facebook, and it's, you know, it kind of makes it easier. But again, I don't share as much of my personal life as other people probably do. Mm-hmm.
Couple of questions. How large your online networks and how large your networks?
How large are my networks? On Facebook, I probably have 2,400 friends right now. On LinkedIn is about 350, maybe almost 400. And it's interesting, I know there are people out there who have 10,000 people in their network. And it's not that I'm selective, it's just that it's really people who are inviting me into their networks that I accept. On Twitter, I think I have 1,200 followers. So, you know, no way am I out there with thousands and thousands of people, but I'm kind of at a stage where it's like I have enough people to help me, and anyone else who wants to come in and play, I'm totally open to that. But you don't need to build a huge, huge network. You don't have to have as many friends as I do, as many contacts. You can really get a lot done with a small core group of people. The quantity I've just built just because people have been inviting me into their networks. I mean, I think I've only sent out maybe of the Facebook friends, out of those 2,400, I may have sent personally 100 of those out to people, and the rest have come in and invited me. So that's kind of how that starts to build. So a lot of stuff just happens organically too.
And you mentioned that on LinkedIn you kind of hide your friends from others. Why?
Why? Well, I think that if I'm inviting strangers into my, not inviting, I'm accepting invitations from strangers, people I don't know yet. So for example, if I was at a networking event in person and someone came up to me that I didn't know, I'd at least be open to starting a conversation with them. And I feel that I'm opening the door to that on LinkedIn as well. Getting a chance to get to know them. Of course, if they start to abuse that relationship, then I'll take them off. So as I'm inviting people into my network who I don't know that well, I do want to protect the people who I do know very well. So that's why I close it off. So you can't go into my profile and kind of see all the people that I know. However, if there's someone that you want to connect to who happens to be in my network, you can ask me for an introduction. But you have to be searching for that person by name. So it's just a compromise I made to be able to accommodate people who wanted to connect with me, but also kind of not bother the people in my network who aren't as open as I am. All right, well, thank you so much, everybody. And if any of you are online and would love to invite me into your network, I'd love to be part of yours and would want to help you in any way that I can. So the best way to find me is on, just go to my website, networkingexcellence.com, and you can find all the different ways to connect me, or smartnetworking.com. So,
You mentioned him?
yes, that's there as well. So thank you so much. Now go forth and network. Okay.